All right, this is Rudy. It's March the 20th, the year 2017. Schuyler Barbeau called again tonight. I want to collect some thoughts on audio and put it on YouTube, but his trial date is June the 5th, 2017. So if anybody is in Seattle federal courtroom, it would be good to show support for Schuyler Barbeau on June the 5th. Also, when we talked, I wanted to just share some highlights. He mentioned that Ryan Payne took, I guess, a deal because if he didn't take a deal, the prosecutors were threatening him with terrorism charges. And I gather that Ryan Payne is spending 9 years in prison. Which is, I gather that Ryan Payne is a good guy. I don't know that much about him, but from my discussion with Schuyler Barbeau, he didn't say that, but he just said that he took a deal and now he's spending 9 years in prison. They also, I gather, I brought up the fact that I had seen a news report about Schuyler Barbeau as KIRO7 News. And Schuyler mentioned that because he was on speakerphone and talking to people that were not on his approved list. Keep in mind, when Schuyler calls me, I can't even put Aaron on the phone because Aaron's not on his approved list. But I guess it all stemmed from that KIRO7 Fox News report, and they took his phone privileges away for 30 days. So I may try to mirror that report or point to it, but that's a very good report to listen to kind of give you an idea about how they try to demonize Schuyler Barbeau. It has his mother in there. She's in part of the report as well. Stacy Barbeau, she's his biggest supporter. He did say he was going to try to represent himself pro se, although he's been appointed a public defender. And he did say his public defender called the prosecutors to see if there was any deal going to be offered. And the prosecutors responded and said no, that they believe Schuyler Barbeau is so dangerous they're going to push for the full 10 years. Which is it's an absolute absurdity that this man served his country in the Marines, and the prosecutors are going to go for 10 years in prison.
For a thought crime.
Just for a thought crime and for making his own gun. Okay? That's all. Also, this Oliver Murphy guy, who is another Benedict Arnold in the same vein as Bill Fulton and Gerald J.R. Olson. This Oliver Murphy, who sold his best friend out for $3,500. I guess there was a Facebook conversation. It was one of these liberal snowflake social justice warriors. And he was whining and complaining like liberals do, all the time. And Schuyler Barbeau put something on Facebook about supporting Timothy McVeigh. I don't know the exact quote, but his friend Oliver Murphy screen captured it and sent it to the FBI. And so they're making this entire case and connection that Schuyler Barbeau supported Timothy McVeigh, and they're trying to make Schuyler Barbeau out to be this terrible domestic terrorist. And it reminds me of Jason Gerhardt, because they did the same thing to Jason Gerhardt, who was a supporter of Ed and Elaine Brown. So they're really trying to demonize Schuyler Barbeau. And Schuyler said that he only said what he said for shock value. I got the impression that he didn't even believe it. And it goes back to the First Amendment, right? He wasn't saying that he's going to go out and kill anybody. It was just basically saying,
self-defense.
That Schuyler has a belief that we have the right to protect ourselves if our own life is in danger, or protect others. Everybody believes that. I mean, if you're not going to protect your own life or your own family's life, what kind of man are you? I would call you a worm. You're not a man if you're not going to protect yourself and your family's life if they're in danger. Schuyler holds the belief that you should be able to protect yourself and your family and your friends from imminent death if somebody's trying to, do you harm. But regardless of what he said about Timothy McVeigh, that's First Amendment. And you don't put somebody in prison for 10 years for a statement, right? We have the ability. I mean, let's just take some of the most if you believe 9/11 is an inside job and you believe our government was involved, are we going to start putting people in prison because they hold that belief? I know some people who don't believe the Holocaust occurred. Are you going to put somebody in prison 10 years because they don't believe the Holocaust occurred? Whether you believe it occurred or not, you don't put somebody in prison for their belief system. And that's the situation we've got in this country, is that Schuyler Barbeau is being labeled a domestic terrorist for his belief system, and because he made his own firearm, right? They're making him out to be some dangerous criminal that's worthy of putting somebody in prison for 10 years. Absolutely horrific what's going on with him. I can tell that he is a patriot and he is an embodiment of the principles of this country was founded upon. And I pray that if anybody has the time and is in the Seattle area, they'll go support him on June the 5th during his court date. I don't know what else to say.
That's enough.
I guess that's enough.